My guest today is Dustin Stout of Magi, Magi.co. I love this tool so much, and this is why I love it. You get all these different AI tools in one simple account. You don't have to try to manage accounts at all these dozens of different AI companies. Dustin and his team have packed all the models into one beautiful app that does so much stuff for you. You've got GPT, you've got Claude, you've got deep research. It's one easy to use platform. It pulls everything together. You've got folders. You can store your projects in the folders. You can build custom personas, which are like GPTs or agents. You can collaborate with your team. You can do it all. Everything AI is under this one roof called Magi.co. I strongly recommend you get an account and start using it today. We're going to talk with Dustin about how this works and how he got started next. Check it out, Magi.co. How did you get started in this? I remember back in the beginning when you started talking about it, you were doing a build in public kind of thing. What is build in public and why did you do it that way?
Well, build in public is this concept that's kind of emerged a lot over the last, I would say, 5 to 7 years. Really in the indie entrepreneur community, a lot of developers especially. And the idea is you build a product and you do it publicly by saying, hey, here's what I'm working on. I'm doing this today. This is my idea. This is why I'm doing it. You're kind of just sharing the journey. And that's really what social media has always thrived in, sort of the behind the curtain look at people's lives and at people's businesses. And if you're building a product and you want to launch that product with an audience who's ready to buy, one of the best ways to do is just bring them along for the ride while you're building it. And so I've always been a social media advocate, and I love being social and sharing my journey with people, because not only do I think it helps me in communicating what I'm building and getting feedback, which is immensely important. If you're building a product and you're not getting feedback from your target audience from day one, you very much risk building a product that they won't actually buy. So I love the idea of sharing what I'm building in real time so that I can get real time feedback and make adjustments as I'm building before I launch something. But on top of that, it really encourages those who are also builders. It shows them, I myself learn from watching other people work. And so it's very helpful to that community to see how other people work and see the decisions they make and why they make them. And so building in public is just this idea of sharing your journey of building a product, and hopefully that audience that you're building it for is paying attention. And by the time it's ready, they are ready to open their wallets and buy.
And you were very transparent about the number of subscribers and the rates. And are you still revealing those numbers, or did you stop doing that? Or
I try to when there's a noteworthy milestone. So things have kind of evened out a little bit. At the beginning, it was very much hockey stick growth, and it was very exciting. But once you get to a certain point and things start to become a little slower, it's not quite as exciting and not really worth sharing. We gained 1% growth over the last month or so. So I really like to stick to the major milestones at this point. And but yeah, we're super transparent about it. Right now we're only at about 50K MRR, and we've got over 2,500 paying subscriptions, but that equates to roughly about 47,000 users, because our plans, one subscription can have many users on them. So we have large enterprises using our product, we have universities using our product, and then we have a bunch of solo creators with just themselves, and some smaller businesses with maybe 1 or 2 team members, or 5 or 10. So yeah, we have a pretty big range of people that we serve with this product. And so, even though it's only about 2,500 active subscribers who are paying us monthly or yearly, that equates to about 47,000 users.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. The breadth and difference of different kinds of customers, it kind of flies in the face of, you got to niche down. The riches are in the niches.
Yeah. And I've always kind of fought that as a business owner. I myself, I'm so multi-curious, I guess is the word. I'm multi-curious. I'm I like a lot of things, and I never found myself to be a niche in myself. And so when I build a product, I find it really hard to niche down. And I've always kind of been discouraged by that advice because I believe it's good advice. You know, for some people who can find their niche and they can find a product that suits a very specific type of person or buyer, you know, I think that's great. And it's obviously worked for a lot of people, but it's never worked for me. And I think in this age of AI, it just so happens that that mentality of building for many different types of people is much more suited to the AI space. And this is, you know, one of my big spicy hot takes, I guess, is, you know, if you're building an AI tool and you're trying to niche it down, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing the customers a disservice, because the real superpower of AI is it is so capable in every different vertical, in every different arena. So anytime you try to niche down the product and limit it to a specific set of capabilities, you're kneecapping the power of AI, and you're forcing people to sort of continue to fracture their workflows, because you know you're trying to cut your little piece of the AI pie, and as a result, the consumer suffers because they have to have 5 different tools now, and they have to have different logins and more subscriptions. And so I think the age of AI products and tools really is lending itself towards a more universal and flexible value proposition when it comes to software products. And yeah, I think anybody who's still trying to build niche AI tools is going to have a very hard time come 2 to 3 years down the road, when consumers realize, like, this one AI can do everything. Why do I need a product that limits it to only, you know, this type of PDF?
I also am not a niche. I'm a copywriter. That's how I'm known, as a copywriter and a marketer. But I'm also Star Trek, and I'm Lord of the Rings, and I'm pugs, and I'm hiking, and I'm binoculars, and astronomy, and reading, and travel. And that's not a niche. That's a human.
Right. Yeah, it's a human. Yeah, humans are not niche down. I mean, we are multifaceted. We have many layers, many interests, and you know, again, going back to just specifically for AI, like everybody's going to be using AI in many different areas of their work life and in their home life, in their business, and to have a tool that's only relegated to, you know, this one area, it really kind of just, again, fractures that experience for the user. Churn is going to be much heavier because they're having to juggle all these different things, and everybody is enduring the subscription fatigue. Like, it is a real thing. Before I started Magi, I had 3 other software products that were subscription based, and I can tell you that market research alone showed me that people are tired of having subscriptions. But some products need to be subscriptions. An AI product needs to be a subscription because it has a ongoing cost associated with it. So
yeah, you know, there's a thing, there's truth in that. Every time something pops up, it's another subscription, I'm like, I groan and I complain. Yeah. But there are certain things I pay for, and I want to pay for them because I want them to stay around. I love Magi. I pay for Magi. I want to keep paying for it. I don't want it to be free because I know that's going to not work out in the long term. So let's zoom out. It's a couple years ago. Was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago that ChatGPT hit the
November 2022? So it's a little over 2 years old, and Magi is actually coming up on its 2-year anniversary here in 11 days.
I was going to say, how early did you start Magi, and what made you think to do that?
I was super early. I had been playing with AI tools, and, because we're in the marketing space, AI tools in the marketing space actually emerged, I think, 2 years before ChatGPT. So we had things like, you probably remember, Conversion AI. You remember that name?
Yeah.
Which
and
then
Jarvis.
turned into Jasper. It turned into Jarvis, and then they got sued by Disney, and then it turned into Jasper. But there was also Copy AI, and then there were all these clones of those tools popping up. But the problem was that they all sucked. They were interesting. They were groundbreaking in many ways. But what was the problem with them was they were all predicated on templates. And so you had these thousands of templates that you had to sort through. And once you found the right template for your particular goal or objective, you then had to fill out a form and fill in all the blanks, right? And then hit a button, and hopefully the AI gave you what you were looking for, and it would come up with some language that was 90% garbage, and then you clean it up a little bit. So those tools didn't really work. They were helpful, but they weren't magical, right? There was just something about them that was hard to use. Having to filter through templates it was like the Netflix effect, right? You go into Netflix and you're flipping for 20 minutes and you're like, I don't know what to choose. It's the paradox of choice. You just got too many options and you don't know, which one to pick. So they didn't work. But November 2022, I got wind of ChatGPT right before it hit the public eye, and I started using it, and I was blown away. I was just floored by what it can do. Instead of having to go through all these templates, instead of having to go through, this paradox of having to figure out which one is the right one, I could just type to the AI, tell it exactly what I want, and it gave it to me. Mind blown, right? Just type some words and get what you want. It was like magic. I feel like Harry Potter, I'm just like, levitorium words. I don't know. I don't know my Harry Potter spells, but it was really magical. And so I was at that time, I was on the end of 2 completely failed software products that I was desperately trying to launch. I was broke because I had sunk $65,000 of my own money and 2 investors who helped me along the way. And the products were just not taking off. I was depressed chronically. I was, my mental health was really struggling, and it was off of, my wife had health issues going on. And so this was the darkest time in my entire life that I've ever had to endure. I didn't think I had anything left to give to the world. I was praying for the Lord to just take me home because I just felt like I had nothing else. But by the grace of God, I started using ChatGPT. I started to take on some clients. And like any good entrepreneur, I'm using a thing. And as I'm using this thing, I'm like, man, I wish this was better, or I wish it did this. And why doesn't it do this? And gosh, I wish I had this other thing attached to it so that I didn't have to go through all these extra steps. And the light bulbs went on. And I realized, I learned that these AI tools that were popping up, the ChatGPT was popping up, and then it had a competitor called Anthropic that looked really promising, and then these image generators started popping up, and I was like, man, I wish all these tools were in one place. You know what? All these companies have APIs, which essentially means any developer can pull this technology right into their own product and use it. Maybe I can create a better version of ChatGPT. And I'm not actually a developer. I've built a lot of software products, but I've always had to hire out and hire the really smart people to help make the thing work. I make it look pretty. I'm a front end guy. I can design it all day long, and I know enough HTML and CSS. It's like my second and third language. But when it comes to the really advanced stuff, I need to hire it out. But I was broke. I had nothing, Ray. I was worrying about paying my mortgage over the next 30 days. So I had to figure out a way. And again, by the grace of God, I was able to learn what I needed to learn with using a combination of no-code tools and the limited amount of coding that I did know. And within, it was around January that I decided, it was around December that I decided to start playing with the idea. But it was around January when I was like, I need to build this product. And it took me 8 weeks, start to finish. Every single day, I was at my computer 6 to 8, sometimes 10 hours a day, taking breaks for family and, taking the kids to school and so forth. But in 8 weeks, I had the MVP of Magi ready to go. Just building on the features that I needed, things like folders, just to stay organized with my chats. At the time, you couldn't even search through your chats in ChatGPT. You just had this infinite list of things. So if you wanted to find something you generated last week that was really good luck. You got to click through every single one of them. So I wanted folders that I can organize things in. I wanted to be able to separate my client stuff from my personal stuff, from my business stuff, and spread that out so they're not intermingling. I wanted to bring in some of the image generators. I wanted to bring in Claude and some of these other models to see how they worked differently. And so I built essentially a product to make my life easier, knowing what I know about how, professionals and business people operate. And I thought to myself, this might be something worthwhile. And I'll tell you what, Ray, because that season of mine was so dark, I will tell you that February 17th is my birthday. And it was February 17th where I had gotten the last message from an employer. I was actually applying for jobs for the first time in 10 years because, I didn't know what was going to happen next. And on February 17th, my birthday in 2023, I got a message from a potential employer who was essentially saying, "Hey, I know it's your birthday today, but we just want to let you know we decided to go a different way." And
What?
yeah, so I literally sat in my desk and I was like, "This is it. I'm done. Like I can't do anything." And I was from that point on, about 3 weeks from finishing Magi. And God saved me that day from making a really poor decision about my life. And 3 weeks later, I sludged through. My wife kept telling me, God hasn't taken you home yet. You have something left to do in this world for His glory. And so I sludged on and sure enough, launched the first version of Magi. And within the first week, we were profitable. Obviously, I wasn't paying any developers, so it was easy to become profitable. But we were making over $1,500 a month in our first week. And after that, I think it just started to go up and up and up. Thankfully, I had built an audience because I was building in public, because I was sharing the journey, because I knew people like you over the years who have large audience, who have supported me and willingly shared the things that I've been working on and with their audiences. And so, I was very blessed to be able to, by God's strength alone, get through that dark season and launch a product that I felt like I needed and felt like could help a lot of people. And it's been quite a journey ever since then.
Wow. I had no idea it had gotten that dark. I'm so glad you stuck around and worked on this, regardless whether this product had ever played out or not. You're a great human being, and I'm just glad you're still with us. And I'm glad things have gone well. What did you build in public before this, or was this the first time you've done that?
No, it wasn't the first time. So the two failed products that I had tried previous to building Magi, I did a little bit of building in public. And the challenge there was I was building in public, but I wasn't really I wasn't building in such a way that I was eliciting feedback. I was more sharing, less asking. And so I think there's a delicate balance for anyone who it has a vision for building something and they want to build in public. Don't be so close-minded that you're like, I know exactly what I'm building and I'm just going to tell people exactly what I'm building. You have to actively ask for feedback. Yeah. You have to put your ideas out there and be willing to be wrong to the people who you actually want to sell to. And so if you're not lending your building in public to feedback and input, then you're very much going to risk, again, building a product that nobody actually buys. And that was my mistake with those earlier two products.
Yeah, I think so many entrepreneurs think they're Steve Jobs, and
right. Steve
Jobs is like, they don't know what they want until I give it to them.
Right.
Guess what? You're not Steve Jobs. So stop it. This has been such a problem for me to actually listen to my people. I had this fantastic experience last week. I had sent out some emails to my email list saying, what is your biggest struggle? What's your biggest problem right now? What are you having trouble with? What would you like me to help you fix? And so I got all these responses back, like 200-300 responses. And they're emailed, and I read through them, and that's what I usually did in the past. Then I thought, wait a minute. I'm going to take all these emails. I'm going to bundle them up. I went to ChatGPT, and I said, please read these emails. Look for certain categories and kinds of problems that are cropping up. Give me an analysis of what's going on psychologically. Why are people having these problems? And how can we best help them solve them? And it spit out this document that it's categorized by category of problem, by intensity of problem, by psychological. It's the most astonishing thing. And I realized I am not as fast at taking data and digesting it and interpreting it and assembling it into a summary report like this. It blew my mind.
Yeah. What a brilliant use case. I never thought of taking a bunch of emails and putting them through there. Typically, I've done similar things with like a spreadsheet. I'll put a form out in the world. People can fill out a form or a survey and have it all attach the answers to a spreadsheet. And then I'll put the spreadsheet through one of the AI models. Usually Claude is the one I go with inside of Magi. But that's a really great use case, just taking the email responses. It makes it a lot easier for people too. I'd be curious to know how you got those emails into a format that you could feed to ChatGPT.
Well, I used a human agent to copy and paste it into a Word doc or into a Google Doc. Yeah.
So a little bit of manual labor involved.
Yeah. So I have a question. I probably should have asked this in the beginning. Can you describe for folks who may not know, what is Magi? What does it do?
Yeah, so Magi is an all-in-one AI platform. So instead of having to pay for ChatGPT Plus and Claude and Gemini and Leonardo AI and all the other AI things out there, instead of having these separate and fractured subscriptions, you have all of those same exact tools, all of those same exact capabilities inside of one app for one price and one subscription. So instead of paying $20 a month for just ChatGPT, you could pay $20 a month for Magi and get ChatGPT, Claude, Meta AI, Perplexity, Gemini, Mistral, and about a total of about 28 different LLMs just in the chatbot area. Then you also have access to 9 different image generators, the best image generators on the planet, and video generators. So AI video generators, whether it's text to image or image to video, or text to video. We have them all inside one app. So it makes it very easy for you to try them all out and see which one works for your specific needs, because the real truth that you find is some AI models are good at some things but bad at others, while there may be another AI model that has those, doesn't have its weaknesses but has opposite strengths. And so you can kind of use the one that you need for the right situation. On top of that, our app is built for teams. It's built for business. So organizational tools, like I said, that I needed. You could put things into folders. You can separate things into different workspaces. So client A's content isn't mixing with client B's content. We have many layers of contextual contextual data that you can layer into these things so that the AI always has the right information for your business and you don't have to load it every single time. We have custom personas akin to GPTs. FYI, we had personas 9 months before OpenAI had GPTs, where you can customize the AI's responses. You could build your own personalities for the AIs and get 10 times, 100 times better content by giving them the proper instructions. And then you can have multiple personas in a single conversation talk to one another. You can have multiple AIs in a single conversation. You can have multiple users in a single conversation. It's the ultimate collaborative platform for AI power users and for newbies as well.
Absolutely. And I use it every day and I keep finding new ways to use it. And when I started thinking of AI as an actual entity I'm having a conversation with, that was like the unlock for me that allowed me to think about. I mean, it's gotten to the point now people in my life are irritated because they'll come ask me a question. I'll say, have you asked Magi that question yet? And they're like, oh, okay, got it. And then they come back later and like, I got it solved. It is such an amazing time we live in right now. Here's another, as a copywriter, I've always kind of had this love-hate relationship with templates and with what we copywriters call swipe files. And it's funny, when you say it to marketers and copywriters, they're like, oh yes, I have a huge amount of swipe files. You say it to regular people, they're like, swipe? What? So you're stealing other people's copy?
You've swiped it from someone? That sounds illegal.
Here's what I do. I go get a great piece of copy that I really like a sales letter that Clayton Makepeace wrote or Dan Kennedy, and I'll take it to Magi and I'll show it to Magi and I'm talking about like it's a person. I'll say, read this sales letter and analyze it and pull apart for me the structure and the reasons why it's built the way it is and why it works psychologically, and it'll give me an analysis of that sales letter. And then I'll take a product or a service that I'm going to write copy for, and I'll say, take the following information about this product, and don't copy the original. I type these words. Don't copy the original sales letter, but use the same structure and reasoning and logic to build a new one based on this new product. And it writes copy that's better than what 80% of professional copywriters will write. I got 20% of the work to do to just tweak it and dust it off. And it's so amazing. It's made me, people are afraid they're going to be replaced by AI. It's making me a better writer.
Absolutely.
And I just think it's such an amazing time. And this tool is, my wife loves this tool, by the way. She asked me, she said, what's this Magi thing? I said, well, it kind of aggregates all the other things I was paying for. She said, is that why you're not paying for them anymore? I said, yes. She said, I love it. Keep it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that was kind of that was a real validation for me. So I've built a lot of digital products in the past, as you know, and many of them were aimed at marketers because those were my people. And when I built Magi, and after a few weeks of, you know, sharing with my wife about it, she's never been able to explain anything that I've done professionally. It's just difficult for her. But she's a school teacher now. She took a job at a local Christian school. She's an English teacher. And so she, like all teachers, are overloaded with work. And so she was sharing with me one day about, you know, the things that she was having to do and struggles that she was having. I was like, well, you could use Magi to help you with, you know, X, Y, and Z task. You want me to show you how to do it? And I did. And she instantly like understood how it can help her. And this was the first time, and I think the history of me building products or services, that my wife goes, oh my gosh, I love this. I'm going to use this all the time.
Wow.
Finally, a product that my wife will actually use. And I think that was, you know, that was the key indicator of the fact that I have a success on my hands. My wife can use it. Yeah.
That's so good. So let's walk through some of the tasks that the average everyday business person, online business person might use Magi to accomplish. Obviously, writing copy is one thing. What are some other things?
Yeah, so I'll tell you some of the stuff that I use it for on a regular basis. So I love learning. And one of the things that I love about learning is that the internet is filled with opportunities to learn, right? But I don't always have time to watch all the YouTube videos or to, you know, read the 5,000 word article, right? So one of the things that AI is really good at is taking a lot of information and turning it into a bite-sized summary of information to help you get the, you know, the bulk of the content. So with Magi, of course, one of the first things that I built in was the ability to read a web page. With ChatGPT, you still can't do this. You cannot put in a URL to a specific web page and have the AI go and just look at that one page and know what's on that one page. What it's going to do in ChatGPT or any of these other products, it's going to see that you have a URL, and then it's going to go do a Google search or a Bing search in most cases for that URL. And it's going to scrape the top results for that URL, which could mean that it's getting the wrong pages into its context and diluting what that data you actually want is with other irrelevant data. But with Magi, we built an intelligent tool that says, oh, they put in a precise URL here. We're going to go to that URL and that URL only. We're going to scrape the page, attach it to this prompt, and do whatever the user asks us to do with that prompt. So the example would be, you know, summarize this article. And you paste the link to the article. 10 seconds later, you have a full-on summary of that article alone, and you can get whatever you want out of it. And you can continue to talk about that article because the AI now has that entire article in its context. Lots of possibilities there, right? Aside from just, you know, gleaning learning from it. Similarly with YouTube videos. I love YouTube. I learn a lot from YouTube, but again, don't always have the time to sit and watch a video. So I also built a tool in Magi where you can paste a YouTube link, and in that same way, it will detect, oh, this is a YouTube video, and it'll go over to that YouTube video, our web scraper, and it'll pull the transcript automatically from that YouTube video and attach it to the prompt, and then have the AI be able to respond to it. Now you can build an entire article out of a YouTube video if you want. You can pull the key points. You can, do whatever you want with the transcript of that article, and again, unlocks all kinds of possibilities, right? Really cool things you can do with just those two tasks alone.
That is freaking awesome. One of the things I've been doing lately that is just kind of blown my mind is I often have accumulated over the years by reading different books and articles and learning from different people throughout my business career. I have these beliefs about what works and what doesn't. So I have these, I'll talk to people about writing copy and how I'll say, well, people buy on emotion, not on logic. They use logic to give you a rationalization for why they bought the thing using emotion. And when we rationalize, we tell rational lies. And I have all these little tidbits like this. So I started collecting all this together. I put it into a document, and I went into Magi and I asked ChatGPT, I actually went into deep research. I said, can you find out what support is there for these ideas scientifically? I got back a huge document with all the citations, all the papers. I can go look, articles, books, texts, speeches, and I was right, so that made me feel good about most things. There were some things that actually said there's no support for this idea, but the ability of the AI to do the research, to pull it together, to assemble it in an orderly fashion, it's astonishing, and I just can't wait to see where we go next, because I know a lot of people are freaking out. I think this is the greatest enabler of human progress and us making the world a better place that has ever happened on the planet, period. And I'm excited about it.
I agree. This is the biggest paradigm shift we will have seen since the invention of the internet. And I don't say that lightly, because I think the onset of the internet, you and I were around when that happened. Yeah. And it completely upended industries. It completely changed economies. Completely new ways of life were invented because of the onset of the internet. And many businesses were destroyed because of it, because they didn't adapt, because they didn't see, they wanted to remain in the old ways. And then many businesses completely thrived and were reinvented because of the internet. And I think that same thing is happening with AI. You're going to see a lot of companies resist it, and it's going to be detrimental to their future. And there are going to be a lot of companies who embrace it, especially those using Magi, and they will thrive in the future in this new economy that is being created because of these tools. And so I think it's super exciting, and I'm doing my absolute best. As a business owner, I empathize with other business owners who struggle to keep up with technology. And part of my heart for with building Magi is ongoing education. I'm doing everything I can to invest in education to help businesses learn how to leverage this technology. And we do that through, we have a free resource for people. We have an AI Academy where every week we do a new training on how to leverage AI, whether that's with Magi or without Magi. We try to keep it as, basic as possible, as fundamental as possible, but we're weekly educating people and adding to our library, this online learning hub called the AI Academy. I am actively pursuing AI educators and AI influencers to try and find ways to help them make money with our affiliate program, which is a generous 20% lifetime recurring commission, so that they can continue to educate people. Because right now, a lot of people are scared, a lot of people are excited, and we all need to learn together. That we're all going through a learning curve. And so I think education is highly important, and it's something that I want to focus a lot on over the next 3 to 5 years.
Well, that's an exciting viewpoint that I agree with. And so whatever we can do to help you promote that, we will do. I am just so surprised we ended up here. 2 years ago, I never would have predicted this is what would be happening today. And it just keeps getting better and better. And I'm so thankful to be alive right now at this point in history to be part of it. And thankful to you for creating Magi.
Well, thank you, Ray. I mean, you've always been a great help. I've learned so much from you over the years. everything that you have to say, it just seems like absolute gold. I love your Rayisms. I remember you did at least a couple different webinars, and I had these notes for the longest time. Wherever I would write copy, I would always reference these notes. And you know what I should do? I should probably try and find those notes and build a Magi persona and call it, the Ray Edwards persona.
I give you permission to do that, please.
I should do that.
I just, I love what you're doing. I love the work you're doing. And Magi is a great tool. So everybody listening or watching, my advice is just cancel all the other subscriptions.
Get rid of
Magi. Use it. You will not be sorry. And we'll have you back on the show again if you're willing to show up.
Absolutely.
Again.
Yeah. I'd love to come back.
What do you see coming in the future?
Man, so this year is the year of agents. So you're going to hear a lot about AI agents, but you're going to hear a lot of wrong things about AI agents. For the past year or so, a lot of AI products have been saying that they have AI agents and they do AI agents, and they're all lying. Because what they really are is just smart automations, and that's not really what an agent is. And an AI agent, by definition, is an AI model where you can give it a task and it can have access to multiple actions or multiple tools that it can use. And it can go generate something, feed it back into itself and say, is this complete? Is the task done? No, I need to go do something else, and then decide to go make another choice and then do another thing and make another choice. And it should have that autonomy to take actions and keep going until the task is finished by whatever the user has predefined. That's an agent. Not triggering a Zapier workflow. That's not an agent. So this year, you're going to see some actual AI agents start to hit the market. We're working on, in Magi, giving users the ability to engage these AI agents for very complex tasks and workflows. So that's going to be what's going on this year. It may take 18 months to really start to proliferate and get in the hands of actual consumers. But on top of that, multimodality. So right now, a lot of the AI toolings, such as video generators, image generators, text generators, they're very separate, but they've started to converge when OpenAI introduced their GPT-4o model, which O stands for Omni. The ability to do multiple types of generative AI, so not just text, but also do images as well inside the chat. You're going to see a lot of that popping up. We've been building that into Magi for the last year. So I think everything's going to sort of converge. You're going to see these AI models who are capable of doing any generative AI thing inside the conversational interface, whereas before you kind of need to have multiple interfaces. So I'm not just talking about images, that's already possible, but also videos, which is also possible in Magi, but audio as well, generating audio, editing audio. And it's going to be that chat interface is going to be sort of the universal workspace for doing any generative AI thing. And I think that's really the future, is just streamlining the interface so that people can do pretty much anything and everything just by either texting with or talking with the AI and telling it what to do.
What a wonderful world.
Yeah,
Dustin
it's
Stout,
a crazy world.
Thank you, my friend, for building Magi.co and for being who you are. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Ray.